Hi everyone. Sorry for the lack of video yesterday, but I was working on some things, so I have a couple of videos. I have maybe 3 videos today, but I had to work on a few things. So I think I did a video a while ago about the guy that I'm going to talk about now today. Only I have more detail. I have more details than I had that time. So. Um, it's kind of like a redo, but if you didn't see the first one, I guess it's the first time for you. So, okay. Now, uh, um, the guy I'm going to talk about was in the military, and he was highly ranked. Um, some people might know the name when I say it, but he went by Colonel Russell Williams. But he's not a colonel anymore, and he is now incarcerated in jail for his crimes. He committed first degree unaliving twice and some other things. Okay. Now I had to do a little homework because I knew that a colonel is a military rank, but I didn't know exactly what military rank. So, okay. In, I guess, the U.S., but definitely the Canadian Army, there are ranks. And the higher you go, the more your title is. And the more bars and things you have across your chest in this kind of a straight line. And so he was a colonel for many, many years. And then after everything happened, they took away his titles, took away his rank, took away all the medals, and put his stuff in the incinerator. So they were serious. But he also committed serious offenses. So I understand why. Okay. So what I'm going to focus on is, two things. The body language in his interrogation, and also the movie version, which I've watched a couple times over the years. Now, this happened in 2010, so 15 years now. And I happened to come across the movie version of this, and it's called An Officer, and they use the word I can't use on here, but it starts with M, so an officer, and you do the math here. Okay. So what I find interesting about the movie is that Gary Cole, who was pretty famous for being the dad in the Brady movies, the Brady Bunch movies, turned out he played that role. And I've talked about this angle of it a couple times, but I find it very interesting that some people who play the nicest roles want to play the darkest roles after that to try to, so they don't get typecast. But it was just really weird to see him in that role because, see, when I was growing up, the Brady Bunch was on TV all the time. So when the Brady Bunch movie came out, I wanted to see it. So whenever I think about him, I think about his role in those movies. And so it was a clear departure from that for this role. And I think that, barring the subject matter, he did a good job for the role he was given. But it's really strange. You know what I mean? Okay. Now to go to the confession or the interrogation, which led to the confession. First of all, I learned about the interrogation from the behavior panel. I've talked about them many times. I've done videos and all that stuff. Okay. So they talk about how interrogation is supposed to work. And usually the person involved, well, let me start off with this. Never say anything to anybody, because anything you say can and will be used against you. I know they say that a lot. I mean, it's the beginning of the Miranda rights. However, it really is true, because now that I cover court cases, and I'm waiting on the court cases to happen, but now that I cover that, I see it all the time. They use the words against them in the court case, so just don't do it. Okay? Say, I want a lawyer until you get one. Okay. Now, on to how they started the interview. And what's also interesting to me is they call it an interview and not an interrogation. So right there, they use softening language. Okay. Number two, and this is a close second, they try to make the subject comfortable so they don't feel like any pressure or they're in trouble. One thing that some of them do, and once again, they all have different styles, techniques, so you're not going to see the same kind of uh, tactics from everybody, okay? Um, in this one, he tried to offer him coffee to, in the deal of reciprocity, meaning I did something nice for you, so do something nice for me, which, okay, that didn't really go well, but, and also, okay, so then the next step is they try to get as much information from the person as they can, and apparently this guy liked to just talk a lot, and some people call them arrogant. I don't know, because I don't like to judge people based on one thing. If I saw a couple things of him, I might get a baseline, but um okay. So then they keep talking and keep talking, and then at the end of it, which it was a long interview, um they throw out the idea of futility, which is this is now futile, meaning you should give up. You can't run away from this. You can't get out of it, that kind of thing. And so, and then it turns into, can you help us locate, or can you tell us what happened to so and so, or whatever the situation is? In this case, they were trying to I don't know how to say this without sounding weird. They didn't know how to find her without his help. So that was the last piece. But the whole interrogation was like, I think 9 hours. And then the behavioral panel people cut it down to 2 hours or something like that. Because what they did is what I just tried to do right here was just give you the finer points and tell you, the best tactics to take. And if you see these kind of tactics, this is how you should behave, that kind of thing. So that's why they cut it down so much. But yeah, in the movie, and I'm gonna go back to the movie for just a second, and then I'll be done with the video. But okay, in the movie, in the very end, when he's caught and everything, and of course they have to have detective-like people in the movie. So, here's another tactic, which they didn't show in the actual interrogation, but also the lead person might try to make you feel like their buddy, that kind of thing. Because he in the movie, the guy says, "Oh yeah, I understand. I completely understand where you're coming from." And the girl detective was like, "Really? Was that really true? Do you really understand where he's coming from?" And he's like, "No, I don't agree with that whatsoever. I was just trying to get him to talk." Um, oh, and then the other side is that when it was discovered that he did all those things and he confessed, um, some people they showed other men who apparently worked with him, and they had violent reactions to finding out the truth. It was a weird, like, you want to talk dichotomy, complete dichotomy here. So yeah, really interesting from a psychological standpoint, but really freaky too. All right, bye guys.